Oh, you caught us in a conversation about the beautiful country of China, beautiful landscapes.
It has such beautiful mountains and even the sky. Even though it's a little bit gray, you can still see how beautiful it is.
The Great Wall of China to Shanghai. Wow, China has everything, including an atmosphere.
What a beautiful blue sky. I wish we had that in China.
Hey, can I ask you about the atmosphere?
Sure.
Yeah, we love the Chinese atmosphere.
So let's start with the basics. What is the atmosphere?
So the atmosphere is a layer of gas that surrounds the Earth that makes life possible. It protects us from harmful radiation, regulates temperatures, and provides the oxygen we breathe.
How many layers does it have?
5 layers. Each with different characteristics and roles.
And what's the lowest layer? And why is it important?
That's good that you asked that. The lowest layer is the troposphere. This is where all the magic happens. This is the air we breathe, and this is where the atmosphere has the most mass. It's around 8 to 15 kilometers off the ground, meaning we breathe it in.
How does pollution affect the troposphere?
Air pollution is a huge problem in industrial areas like China. The release of pollutants into the air, like carbon monoxide, ozone, and particulate matter, creates smog. This in turn can cause health problems for the people living there and destroy so many ecosystems.
What about the second layer?
Now that you ask, the stratosphere is the second layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It's home to the ozone layer, which is around 15 to 50 kilometers off the ground. The ozone layer absorbs harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun.
I heard China launches things in the stratosphere. What's that about?
Yep, China uses stratospheric balloons and airships for scientific research, weather monitoring, and surveillance. These high-altitude platforms can stay in the air longer than most airplanes. And they spy on us Americans.
Communism.
And what happens in the mesosphere?
The mesosphere, my favorite layer of the Earth's atmosphere. The mesosphere is where all the magic happens. It's the coldest layer of the atmosphere, reaching negative 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It's also where your meteors burn up and your shooting stars happen.
我们可以假装夜空中的飞机就像流星一样吗？我现在真的需要一个愿望。
And does China study this layer?
Stay there. Chinese scientists studied this layer in the mesosphere, looking at different wind patterns, temperature variation, and atmospheric turbulence. This can help with better weather predictions and even improve aviation safety.
我抽着破烂的家抽眼槽，抽到失去所有神经，抽得很猛烈，整个冬天我的房间。
What about the thermosphere? It sounds intense.
Trust me, it is. The thermosphere is around 85 to 600 kilometers off the ground. This is where all your beautiful auroras happen, especially in China. The thermosphere contains a certain region called the ionosphere, and this region is filled with charged particles that emit radio waves and enable long-distance communication. What do you think about China's atmosphere?
I live for that polluted atmosphere. It's got its own unique charm.
How does China study this layer?
China, like many other countries, uses satellites to monitor the thermosphere. This helps with better space weather predictions and helps protect astronauts and satellites from solar radiation.
And finally, the exosphere.
The exosphere is the outermost layer of the atmosphere. This extends thousands of kilometers off the ground and it just kind of fades into space. This is where most of our satellites orbit.
What exactly is the atmosphere made of?
The atmosphere is made up of mostly nitrogen and oxygen, with a few traces of carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. These trace gases, while small in percentage, still have a huge impact on climate and weather.
And speaking of weather, what causes it?
Weather comes from different factors like temperature, atmospheric pressure, winds, and humidity. Solar radiation heats up the Earth's surface unevenly, causing differences in pressure and driving atmospheric movement.
So I'm glad you asked that because wind forms when air moves from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. The greater the pressure difference, the stronger the winds. This helps distribute heat and cold across the whole planet, especially in China.
And precipitation?
I love Chinese precipitation. Chinese precipitation is when warm, humid air arises. It condenses and cools, turning into clouds. Then in these clouds, either ice, hail, or rain will begin to get too heavy and will fall, being precipitation.
The atmosphere in China, the sky.
Oh, that is dirty. They're always wearing masks.
Okay, thank you.
And how does climate differ from weather?
Weather is basically, think of it as what's happening today or tomorrow. Today's super cold. Tomorrow can be hot. That is weather. While climate is a long-term pattern of precipitation, wind, and temperature over a bunch of decades.
So, how are humans affecting the atmosphere?
Humans, specifically Chinese humans, affect the atmosphere so much by factors like pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, acid deposition, and deforestation.
I'm glad you asked. Industrial emissions are the biggest polluters in China. China is also the biggest emitter of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide in the whole world. All these gases contribute to smog and acid rain.
Acid rain. That's still a thing.
For sure, it's still a thing, especially in China. When sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide mix with water vapor, they create acid rain. Acid rain damages things like forests, lakes, and buildings. This is a huge issue in China because it damages monuments like the Great Wall of China.
And what about greenhouse gases?
So basically, when fossil fuels burn, they release carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, which traps heat in there and contributes to global warming. This leads to melting ice caps, rising temperatures, and more extreme weather.
Zaijian! Zaijian!
How does deforestation play a role?
Hi guys, so Andrea had to go back on a flight to China,
我抽着破烂的加州眼槽，抽到失去所
so I'm here to explain the rest of China's atmosphere. So basically, trees absorb carbon dioxide naturally. So when forests are cut down, we lose a natural carbon dioxide sink. China has experienced a lot of deforestation due to urbanization and industrialization, which has caused many negative effects on the ecology and on overall health.
Okay, let's talk solutions. What can be done?
So there are many ways, and the ones people like to use the most are reducing coal consumption and transitioning to cleaner energy, investing in renewable energy like sun and wind power, promoting electric vehicles to reduce reliance on gasoline, enhancing emission standards for industries and vehicles, implementing reforestation projects to restore carbon-absorbing forests, using big data and AI to monitor pollution and predict trends, developing forest cities, which are basically urban areas designed with massive amounts of greenery to promote cleaner air, and strengthening environmental policies and international agreements to curb emissions.
All right, last question. Why should people care about the atmosphere?
Because it literally keeps us alive. The atmosphere regulates climate, provides oxygen, and shields us from harmful radiation. If we don't take care of it, we're putting future generations at risk.
That was a crash course in the Chinese atmosphere. Thanks for the chat.
Anytime. Now, go plant a tree or bike to school, for the atmosphere. Man, I love China. 谢谢你，再见。嘎不很烂。
老天保佑，金山银山前路。